After I was sentenced, I cried and begged my parents to get me the best lawyer for an appeal, but they ignored my pleas. I knew I'd been framed. My parents knew it too. No, I should call them my adoptive parents now. Maybe they were afraid I'd want revenge, or maybe they'd just stopped thinking of me as family long ago. The day I was released, not a single person from the Heiress family came to pick me up. After 4.5 wasted years, I was completely disillusioned with that family. It was better not to go back. With a prison record, I knew I'd never find a decent job like the one I had before. So I found a diner on the side of the road and started working as a busser. The pay was $1,800 a month, less than what I used to spend on a single meal. But I was content. That $1,800 was enough to get by for a month in this sprawling city. I thought I'd never have anything to do with the Heiress family again, but there's no escaping the damn 6 degrees of separation. Well, if it isn't the heiress of New York's richest family. How did you end up in a place like this? The speaker was none other than my former best friend Yvonne. But ever since the Heiress family's true biological daughter was found, her attitude toward me had changed completely. In fact, she was the one who provided the evidence for my embezzlement charge. Oh, silly me, she continued. You're not the heiress anymore, are you? The Heiress family heiress is our dear Sophia now. If you want to eat, come inside. If not, please don't disturb our business. I didn't want to argue with her, and I certainly didn't want to deal with a social climber like her. Looking back, her unconditional kindness toward me must have had conditions after all. Why else would she have turned on me the moment Sophia walked through the door? An ex-con who's lost everything. What's with the attitude? Even though I told myself not to care, hearing those vicious words still sent a pang through my heart. I remembered Yvonne used to be a receptionist at the company. She was always blunt and ended up offending a lot of people, who would then try to sabotage her behind her back. One time, I found her locked in a bathroom, soaking wet after someone had thrown cold water on her. I felt sorry for her, so I made sure those people were punished. I was always so busy with work that I'd forget to eat, so she started bringing me meals every day right on time. One thing led to another, and we became best friends. I admired her directness and her attention to detail, so I promoted her to be my personal assistant. Then Sophia teamed up with the shareholders to accuse me of embezzlement, and Yvonne personally submitted the evidence to the board. In that moment, I was filled with disbelief and shock. But history is written by the victors, and now there was nothing I could do to her. Seeing me cornered at the door, the owner came out to see what was going on. It's busy in here. Get back to work. Don't just stand around slacking off. Yvonne seized the opportunity to stir up trouble. Ma'am, you'd better watch your money. This one has a record, you know. She likes taking things that don't belong to her. The owner looked Yvonne up and down, then glanced at my ashen face. If you're looking for a fight, you should ask around about me first. Now get lost and don't mess with my business. Yvonne was fuming, but she was no match for the owner, either in stature or in words. After Yvonne left, the owner just told me to get back to work and didn't say anything else. After a long day, I was wiping down the last table, getting ready to leave. Chloe, wait a minute. I figured Yvonne's words had gotten to her, and she was looking for the right time to fire me. Here, eat up. The owner pushed a bowl of noodles toward me, her eyes full of warmth. Ma'am, what's this? While I was still wondering if this was the calm before the storm, she quickly explained. Don't be nervous. I didn't pay any attention to what that woman said. You just keep working here, and I'll cover all your meals. Thank you, ma'am. Don't mention it. Just think of this place as your own home. If that person comes looking for trouble again, you tell me, and I'll run her off for you. In over 4 years, aside from the prison guards constantly reminding me to reform myself, this was the first time I had heard such kind words. I didn't know why she was being so nice, but I had no power or influence now, so she definitely wasn't trying to suck up to me. I just wanted to tell her that the trouble ahead would likely be more complicated than just Yvonne. As expected, the moment Yvonne knew I was out, the entire Heiress family knew too. And not just the Heiress family, so did my childhood sweetheart, Ethan. The same man who, back in high school, declared to the world that he would marry me and build me a golden castle to keep me in. But now he was Sophia's fiancé. I thought the Heiress family would be the first to show up, but it was Ethan. He pretended to be a customer, sitting at one of the outdoor tables. As the diner's only busser, taking his order was my job. The moment I saw him, my heart ached. Thankfully, all the years of being ignored by him and the Heiress family had taught me how to control my emotions in moments like this. "What can I get for you, sir?" He seemed taken aback by my formal tone. "Chloe." He hesitated for a long moment before asking, "How have you been all these years?" "Just fine. Life in there is on a strict schedule, food and drink are provided, there are work hours and breaks, and you can even watch the evening news at night. If you haven't decided what you want, I'll leave the menu with you. Just call me when you're ready." I desperately wanted to escape. Of all the people I used to know, Ethan was the last person I wanted to see. Who wants to face the person they once loved most when they're at their absolute lowest? Ethan grabbed my wrist, refusing to let me go. "Chloe, sit down. We need to talk." "Sir, please let go. Don't interfere with my work." "Work? What kind of work is this? Your talents shouldn't be buried here. Come with me." Ethan stood up, grabbed my hand, and started pulling me away. For a fleeting second, I actually wanted to throw caution to the wind and run away with him. But my rational mind told me it was impossible. I had known him for over 20 years. I knew the Chin family inside and out. And I knew Ethan even better. He would never give up his position as the heir to the Chin family fortune. He had been fighting for that title since he was 16. Now that he finally had it, he wasn't about to let it go easily. I struggled to pull my hand away, but he was too strong. I couldn't break free. Well, what do we have here, Mr. Chin?" The speaker was Sean, a high school classmate of mine and Ethan's. He had appeared out of nowhere, looking like he was enjoying the show. Ethan shot him a cold glare. "This has nothing to do with you." Sean's face darkened. He grabbed Ethan's wrist and said, "Can't you see she doesn't want to go with you?" I said, "It has nothing to do with you. Don't give me that cheesy drama about a possessive CEO. What you're doing is called unlawful detention. She could call the cops on you, you know?" Ethan relented slightly, but still looked disdainful. "Chloe, I'm asking you, are you coming with me or not?" I yanked my hand away and answered with a firm, clear voice, "No." Humiliated, Ethan nodded his head repeatedly and said venomously, "Fine. Just fine. If you want to debase yourself, I won't stop you. I hope you don't regret it." "You should worry about yourself, Mr. Big Shot," Sean retorted. "You're about to be a married man, yet you're still getting tangled up with other women. If this gets out, what will your fiancé think?" Ethan's anger flared. He pointed at Sean and said, "You have no right to talk to me like that." With that, he stormed off in a huff. I looked at Sean and couldn't help but laugh. "He's not wrong, you know. You really don't have the right to say that to him." Sean grinned. "Who cares? I can't lose an argument. Why didn't you tell me you were getting out early? I would have picked you up." During all my years in prison, Sean was the only person I knew who ever came to visit me. He was one of the few true friends I had. Even the memory of him sticking gum in my hair back in the day had faded away during the long years of his companionship while I was locked up. The diner wasn't busy, so after letting the owner know, I chatted with Sean for a while. "So, what's your plan now? Are you going to stay here?" "I don't have a plan for now. I want to try to find my biological parents, see if they're still around." "I knew you'd say that. I already looked into it for you. They're living abroad, but they don't know you exist. I didn't contact them without your permission." "Thank you." Sean froze for a second, flustered and unsure how to respond. Those two words were something we never used to say to each other. "Are you going to look for them? If you are, I can make the arrangements for you." "Yes, since I still have family, why wouldn't I? But you don't have to worry about it. I have my own way." Sean looked a little disappointed. "All right then. If you run into any trouble, just let me know." "I will." Sean had barely left before the Heiress family arrived to take his place. "Chloe." Those two simple words froze me in place for a full 5 seconds. It had been almost 5 years since I'd heard that gentle voice. Mrs. Heiress, her eyes glistening with tears, pulled me into a hug. When I was little, whenever I was upset, that embrace could always heal me. But now it felt so cold. It reminded me of the day its owner knelt before me, begging me not to appeal my conviction. Chloe, we had no idea Sophia would do something so terrible. I'm begging you, please don't appeal. If you do, Sophia will go to jail. You know she's my biological daughter, and we owe her for 23 years. Please, for my sake, don't send your sister to prison, okay? I gently pushed her away and said, without a trace of emotion, Mrs. Heiress. She seemed completely unprepared for my reaction. Her eyes widened, and 2 large tears rolled down her cheeks and hit the floor. What did you call me? Mrs. Heiress, this is the diner's menu. See what you'd like to eat. It's on me. The menu was a greasy, laminated sheet of acrylic, worn from constant use. Seeing that Mrs. Heiress wasn't taking it, I wiped it with my sleeve and offered it to her again. Sophia, standing behind her, saw this and immediately jumped to her mother's defense. Chloe, it was all my fault. You can't treat Mom like this. She's your mom, not mine. Even after all these years, my hatred for Sophia was endless. I didn't know why she had framed me. Was it just because I had taken her place as the family heiress? But what did that have to do with me? I didn't even know how the mix-up happened, so how could it be my fault? Chloe, we've regretted it all these years. Can't you just forgive us? Miss Heiress, please watch your words. First, I am not a member of the Heiress family, so please don't call me your sister. I'm not worthy of the title. Second, I don't blame you for anything. Consider my years in prison as repayment for your family's kindness in raising me. From now on, we'll stay out of each other's lives. There's no need to force this connection. And finally, as you know, I'm an ex-con. Anyone who gets close to me gets bad luck. Are you sure having me around won't tarnish the Heiress family's glorious reputation as city tycoons? So my advice is for you to stop coming here. You wouldn't want to lose face. Sophia's face turned red with anger. She lowered her eyes and mumbled, the Heiress family isn't the richest in the city anymore. Chloe, I know you're still angry with me. Please come home with me. I promise I'll make it up to you. Make it up to me? I couldn't help but laugh coldly at that. How? With money? With power? During my 4 years and 5 months in prison, not a single person from the Heiress family came to visit me. At first, I thought they just couldn't face me and needed time. Maybe if they had shown even a little concern while I was locked up, I might have softened. But they were so ruthless, leaving me with no illusions. Any so-called family bond we once had was long gone. All I wanted now was to save up enough for a ticket and go find my biological parents abroad. I didn't want anything to do with the Heiress family. Mrs. Heiress, you should go. I'm not going back with you. I'm doing fine now, and I hope you won't disturb my life anymore. Chloe, Mrs. Heiress pleaded, her voice almost a whimper. But my heart was already as hard as iron. Seeing me surrounded, the owner came to my side and barked. What's going on here? Get back to work. You want to lose this month's pay. When Mrs. Heiress saw me being bullied, she immediately pulled the owner aside. I took the opportunity to get away from the 2 people who made me so incredibly uncomfortable. After closing up, the owner cooked me a bowl of noodles as usual. She also pushed 2 thick stacks of cash across the table toward me. Ma'am, what's this? Your mother gave it to me. Take it. I didn't have to guess. Mrs. Heiress must have given it to her during the day. I didn't understand why the owner would take her money. Please find a chance to give it back to her. I don't need it. She's not my mother anymore. I kept my head down, focused on my noodles, and didn't look at the money again. It wasn't about pride. It was that my years in prison had settled my debt to the Heiress family. If I took their money now, our relationship would become even more tangled. You silly girl. It's free money, you should take it. It should have been yours in the first place. There's no such thing as should have been. I've paid back what I owed them, and they don't owe me anything. We're even. There's no need to get more involved. You made the Heiress family so much money and helped them become the richest in the city. Taking this little bit is letting them off easy. I was shocked. The owner actually knew who I was. When did you recognize me? She casually picked her teeth and said, I didn't have to. Who on this street doesn't know you? Everyone on this street knows me. Of course. You big shots forget easily. You're the one who developed this street. It used to be a shanty town for migrant workers. Then the Heiress family developed the commercial plaza up front and rezoned our area along with it. None of us had much money back then. If this place was demolished, we'd have to pay sky-high rent somewhere else. We all protested. I remember we protested here for more than 10 days, until you came. You said you'd build affordable housing and sell us shops and apartments at 20% below market price. The moment we signed those contracts, we all thought you were our savior. To be honest, we all owe you for being able to put down roots in this city. I smiled faintly. Maybe there really is such a thing as karma. I once felt sorry for this group of migrant workers, and 7 years later, their neighborhood became my refuge. No wonder everyone was so friendly when I first arrived. I thought they were just kind people, but it turns out everything had a reason. I pushed the money on the table back to the owner, insisting she find a chance to return it. Now that I knew the situation, I was sure she wouldn't keep the money for herself. All I wanted was to make a clean break from the Heiress family. I definitely wasn't going to take their money. I heard you talking to that flashy young guy earlier about finding your biological parents. Why don't you keep the money for your travel expenses? That family is so rich, they won't miss it. It's not the same. Taking it means I'll always be indebted to them. If they ever bring it up, I won't be able to defend myself, even if I'm in the right. The owner sighed and shook her head. All right. I have a feeling they'll be back. Next time I see them, I'll return it in front of you. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Don't mention it. Finish up and get some rest. The next day when I showed up for work, a large crowd had gathered in front of the diner. I thought Sophia had sent people to cause trouble, but instead, everyone was trying to donate money to me. I asked around and found out that the owner had posted in a group chat about me saving up for a ticket to find my biological parents, and the whole neighborhood had rallied to help. It took a lot of effort to persuade them all to go home. After seeing the last old woman off, I was about to open the door. Mr. Heiress, the man I once loved most as a father, appeared behind me with his secretary. If things are this difficult, why don't you come home? Turning to see the white-haired man before me, I felt nothing. The image of me kneeling before him, begging him to find me a top lawyer, flashed through my mind. At the time, they didn't want me to appeal. They first sent Mrs. Heiress to play the sympathy card. I had wavered. So I begged Mr. Heiress to find a brilliant lawyer who could both clear my name and minimize the damage to Sophia. He agreed. But the lawyer in court seemed half asleep. Not only was his speech incoherent, but he couldn't even answer the judge's questions properly. And so, I was sentenced to 5 years. But I didn't hate him anymore. At least I had him to thank for the opportunities he gave me, allowing me to rise so quickly back then. 5 years ago, his hair was still black. Now he looked a decade older. It seemed he'd had a lot on his mind while I was in prison. Mr. Heiress, you must have misunderstood. The neighbors were just being overly generous. I'm doing fine. Besides, I have my own home now. It's rented, but it's comfortable. Mr. Heiress's face was stern, his usual style for many years. After a lifetime of dominating the business world, he wasn't someone who let his emotions show. Before, I knew he cared for me. Even when he had a dark expression, I knew there was love for me underneath. But after he hired that incompetent lawyer for me, I realized I had never truly seen through him. Perhaps what I had thought was love was just a facade he maintained. Back then, I was still his daughter, so he was willing to pretend. After he found out I was a fake, he didn't want to pretend anymore. Miss you. Mr. Duncan, your miss isn't here. Don't get confused. When I became the president of Stellar Corp at 20, this secretary, Mr. Duncan, worked for me for a year. He was reliable and always did exactly as I said. Later, when I insisted on transferring Yvonne to the secretarial department, I had him reassigned elsewhere. If there was anyone in the Heiress family or the company that I felt I had wronged, it was him. The reason I was so cold to him now was that I simply didn't know how to face him. Since our paths would never cross again, I figured wronging him one more time wouldn't matter. If you two want to eat, you'll have to wait a bit. We just opened and need to prep. If you're not eating, then please excuse me. I didn't want to get any more tangled up with them, so I politely showed them the door. After Mr. Heiress and his secretary left, I started my busy day. In the days that followed, Ethan would occasionally show up to cause a scene, basically trying to get me to go back with him. He promised me a position as his executive assistant at Cheen Corp, saying that if I was willing to stay by his side, he could give me the best life. But affection that comes too late is cheaper than dirt. The day after my conviction, the Heiress and Cheen families publicly announced that my engagement to Ethan was being transferred to Sophia. Sean told me that Ethan paraded Sophia all around the event that day, looking absolutely ecstatic. We had known each other for over 20 years and been in love for 7. But when it came down to it, his love could be transferred to someone else at a moment's notice. I didn't understand. If he didn't love me anymore, what was the point of all this drama now? Perhaps the pathetic state of his former fiancée made it hard for him to hold his head high? If he had visited me even once during my time in prison, even just to offer a few comforting lies, I wouldn't be so harsh with him now. Mr. Heiress also came by a few times, but he always just watched from a distance. I didn't like being watched like that. It reminded me of the patrolling guards in prison. It gave me the feeling of still being locked up, a sense of confinement where I longed for freedom, but was powerless to achieve it. I took the initiative to talk to Mr. Heiress. I basically expressed my firm decision not to go back with him. Mr. Harris's brow was furrowed, an expression I knew all too well. Whenever the company faced a major problem, he always looked like that, and would be unable to sleep all night. Seeing the dark circles under his eyes, I could tell that things hadn't been easy for him these past few years. Chloe, I'm getting old, and your sister is immature. I hope you'll come back and take over the company again. I was wrong before, but now I can't bear to see you living such a hard life. Please come back with me. I'll transfer all of my shares to you. I snorted coldly. His repeated use of dad was just another attempt to play the sympathy card. He claimed he didn't want me to suffer, but it was just a roundabout way of saying he couldn't manage the business anymore. I might be a busser now, but my years of business instincts hadn't faded. After Sophia mentioned that the Heiress family was no longer the richest, I did some research. Since I went to prison, Stellar Corp's investments had failed one after another. Combined with Sophia's vindictive spending sprees, costing millions, sometimes even hundreds of millions, the Heiress family's fortune was a shadow of its former self. News broke recently that if Stellar Corp continued to lose money this year, Mr. Heiress would be at risk of being forced out. His trying to persuade me to come back now was just a ploy to use what little business acumen I still had. But what they didn't know was that I didn't have any special business talent. I just worked harder than anyone else. For the Shantytown development project, I worked day and night negotiating with every single household and creating custom plans for each one. The stress often gave me stomach pains so bad I couldn't stand up straight. It even got to the point where I needed 4 drips for nutrition. And what did I get in return? A lukewarm not bad from my so-called father. My 4.5 years in prison had finally allowed my body to recover. There was no way I was going to sacrifice my health for the Heiress family again. Mr. Heiress, I've made myself very clear. I've paid my debt to you over the past 4 years. I don't want to owe you anything else. Let's part on good terms. I'm begging you, just let me be. We raised you for as many years as Sophia suffered. You only spent 4 years in prison. How dare you say you've paid us back? The bond of raising a child is greater than the bond of birth. No matter how much you resent us, the fact is that we raised you for over 20 years. Mr. Harris's face remained stern, but the tips of his ears were turning red. I didn't get angry. Instead, I laughed. Mr. Heiress, perhaps you've forgotten that I was the one who made the Heiress family the richest in the city for 3 years. The Heiress family may have raised me for over 20 years, but I never wasted a single penny of their money. The fortune I earned for the family in those 3 years should be more than enough to repay what they spent on me, don't you think? As for what I owed Sophia, I gave her back her identity. And because of her, I unjustly spent 4.5 years in prison. By any calculation, the Heiress family came out ahead. And you should remember, I have a criminal record now. No reputable company would dare hire me. I pose no threat to you or your corporation. Rest assured, I never planned on getting revenge on anyone. You don't have to go to such lengths to keep an eye on me." My words left Mr. Heiress speechless. He knew my personality. Once I made a decision, I wouldn't be easily swayed. "I have to deliver food and work as a designated driver tonight. If there's nothing else, Mr. Heiress, you should head back." Mr. Heiress clenched his fists, his face flushing red, probably because my words had hit all his weak spots. That night, after my last food delivery, I picked up a designated driver gig from a group chat. For some reason, no one else competed with me for the job, which came with a $1,000 tip. When I arrived at the location, I realized the job had been intentionally set up for me by Sophia. Of the crowd of people there, I only recognized Sophia, Ethan, and Sean. Sean had his arm around a girl. He looked a bit awkward when he saw me. He quickly dropped his arm and asked urgently, "What are you doing here?" "I grabbed a designated driver gig from an app. I didn't know it was for you guys." Sean grabbed my arm and tried to pull me away. Sophia immediately raised her voice. "Chloe, why are you working as a designated driver?" "I'm so sorry, I had no idea it was you. This is all my fault." "What do you have to be sorry for?" Ethan sneered. "Some people are just masochists. They'd rather be a servant than a lady. She deserves this." The words came from Ethan. He was probably getting back at me for our last encounter. He thought his words would provoke me, but he didn't realize that I had already accepted my lowly position, so they didn't hurt me at all. I ignored him and said flatly, "Who is the owner of the vehicle? Plate number 0713? "I'm the designated driver. Please come with me to the car." Sophia timidly raised her hand. "That's me. I'm so sorry, Chloe. I really didn't know it was you. Miss Heiress, please give me the car keys. I'll take you home now." "Chloe." Sophia reached out to grab my hand, but I took a step back to avoid her. "Chloe, are you still mad at me? What happened back then was my fault. I was just immature. Please forgive me." Ethan came to Sophia's defense. "Chloe, that's enough. Sophia has already apologized. What more do you want?" I looked at Ethan, my face a blank mask. "You've misunderstood, Mr. Cheen. I just finished a food delivery, and my hands are dirty. I was afraid of getting Miss Heiress's hands dirty." As for what Miss Heiress said about the past, I don't recall anything happening between us, so there's nothing to forgive. Hearing Sophia call me her sister, the onlookers finally realized who I was. "Sophia, isn't she that adopted daughter who embezzled from your company?" Sophia didn't answer, but her downcast eyes were a clear admission. "Ha, you've got to be kidding me. She's just an ex-con. Who gave you the right to talk to our Miss Heiress with that attitude?" A rich-looking young man, clearly drunk, stepped forward to defend Sophia and raised his hand to slap me. But his hand hung in the air, never coming down. I had already braced myself for the blow. When I opened my eyes, I saw Sean's hand clamped tightly around the man's wrist. "Mr. Sean, what's the meaning of this?" Sean's face was dark, his anger palpable. "Who gave you permission to touch her?" He threw the man's hand away, then grabbed mine and started to lead me away. But this time Ethan grabbed his wrist. "Sean, what do you think you're doing?" He glared at Sean, his face ashen and his eyes bloodshot. It was a look I had only ever seen when he was jealous back when we were dating. "Let go," Sean said, looking down at our three tangled hands. He was speaking to Ethan. "You let go of her first," Ethan commanded. "Mr. Cheen, don't forget that Miss Sophia is your fiancée. Aren't you afraid she'll get jealous if you're so protective of this other young lady?" Sean knew how to twist the knife. His words not only made Ethan look awkward but also made Sophia look at him with a wounded expression. Ethan. Looking at Sophia's tear-filled eyes, Ethan's heart softened, and he finally let go of Sean. Back at home, Ethan was restless and agitated. He couldn't understand how the girl who had once sworn her undying love for him had become so different. She used to be so gentle, just like Sophia was now. He had never been treated with such coldness by her. So cold. It was as if he were a complete stranger. Does she not love me anymore? Then what was all my love and longing for her these past years for? Is she mad that I didn't visit her in prison? I only stayed away because I was afraid she couldn't face me. Yes, that must be it. She's mad at me. And that's why she's treating me this way. I have to explain things to her. I have to make her understand that I've always loved her. Ethan put down his glass of wine, called his driver, and headed out. I dropped Sean off at his place and was about to leave. Chloe, sit with me for a while. I agreed without hesitation. This might be the last time we'd see each other. I had saved up nearly $40,000 from my food delivery and driving gigs, enough to fly to the country where my biological parents lived. As a friend, I felt I should let Sean know. I'm leaving. Sean paused, then asked in a low voice, when? Next Monday. Noticing his somber mood, I quickly tried to lighten it. Aren't you going to congratulate me? Sean suddenly pulled me into his arms, his voice a hoarse plea. Please don't go, okay? Ever since I'd known him, Sean had always been a playboy. I had never seen him so dejected. I gently pushed him away. Since when did you get so sentimental? This doesn't fit your live-for-the-moment persona, you know. Besides, it's not like I'm going off to die. We'll see each other again. Sean's eyes were red and filled with tears. He cupped my head with his hands and leaned in. His lips met mine. It only lasted a few seconds. Then he hugged me tightly again, and this time, I could hear a sob in his voice. I'm begging you, don't go. I was about to ask him what was wrong, but Ethan was faster. He grabbed Sean by the collar, yanked him away from me, and punched him in the face. Sean didn't fight back. He just let Ethan pin him to the ground and beat him. I rushed forward to stop them but was shoved aside by Ethan's elbow, my head hitting the corner of a nearby bench. Seeing this, Sean threw Ethan off him and scrambled to my side in a panic. Chloe, are you okay? Before I could answer, he scooped me up into his arms and carried me to the hospital. My head needed 3 stitches. Sean and Ethan stood by my hospital bed like 2 guilty children. To be honest, I didn't want to see either of them right now. Sean because he had kissed me out of nowhere. Ethan because I wanted to keep as much distance from him as possible. I'm fine. You can both leave. No, I'm staying here with you, Sean said, practically whining. I was about to refuse, but Ethan cut me off again. I'm warning you, Sean, stay away from Chloe. You and she are from different worlds. Is that so? If we're from different worlds, does that mean you two are from the same one? Don't forget, you have a fiancé now. You shouldn't be so concerned with other women. Ethan grabbed Sean by the collar again, his eyes blazing. Don't think I don't know what you're trying to do. A playboy like you hanging around Chloe will only bring her endless pain. I'm warning you, stay away from her. Sean pried Ethan's hands from his collar. So you're saying only you can protect her? Of course. Ethan answered without a second thought. Then may I ask, in what capacity will you protect her? As a husband? A lover? Or a friend? Ethan was stumped. He couldn't offer her the role of a wife. Sean could offer more as a friend. The only thing he could offer now was the role of a lover. But that was the one thing he couldn't bring himself to say. He was speechless, but he couldn't let Sean have the last word. Then what can you give her? Sean's face broke into a broad, cheerful grin. Whatever she wants. If she asks for it, I'll find a way to get her the stars from the sky. Ethan sneered. You've had what, 100 girlfriends over the years? Can you give up all those other women for her? Sean scoffed. You all see my many girlfriends, but you don't know that I've never touched any of them. He looked at me on the hospital bed. My heart was stolen by someone when I was 18. I built this whole persona just to get close to her. Now I'm done pretending. The implication of Sean's words was so obvious that anyone could understand what he meant. I never would have guessed that he'd had feelings for me since he was 18. No wonder he changed so drastically after we became adults. But now, it seemed I was about to disappoint him. Stop it. I don't want to see either of you right now. Both of you get out. At my sharp command, the 2 of them reluctantly left. They stood guard outside the door, each one afraid the other would stay behind. I took out my phone and used the contact number Sophia had left for the designated driver gig. I had the person on the other end contact Sophia and tell her to come get Ethan. After some coaxing from Sophia, Ethan finally left with her. I called Sean back in and told him I was hungry. Now that I knew he liked me, I was sure he would fulfill this small request. With Sean successfully sent away, I returned to my own small, dark apartment. It was tiny, so small you could see everything at a glance. But it was warm. It had helped clear away the gloom of being abandoned by everyone I knew. Leaving so suddenly, I felt a little reluctant. But ultimately, this was not my home. I changed my flight to tomorrow morning. Just before boarding, I looked back at the city that held all my joys and sorrows. A complex emotion washed over me. I knew this was liberation. The plane landed as scheduled. I followed the address Sean had given me to my biological parents' home. I wondered if they would be looking forward to my arrival. Would it be a pleasant surprise or a shock? I had no way of knowing. I stood in front of a lovely suburban house. A harmonious family of 4 was having a barbecue in the yard. The man was lounging on a rocking chair, reading a newspaper. The woman was busy at the grill. A young woman sat at a round table sipping coffee, her eyes glued to a laptop. A little boy was chasing a puppy on the lawn. Everyone was busy, but their eyes would occasionally drift toward the little boy, and then they would all break into peals of laughter. It was all too perfect. So perfect that I felt like an intruder. I had once experienced such moments. But everything changed after Sophia arrived. I didn't want to become another Sophia, even though I knew I wouldn't be like her. But I knew all too well what it was like for a stranger to suddenly enter a family. I admit, I was jealous after Sophia returned to the Heiress family. I tried to do everything perfectly, hoping my parents would pay more attention to me. But no matter how hard I tried, I never got the affection I craved. I didn't want the boy and girl in front of me to go through that. It's a painful experience. They didn't deserve to go through that. I took out the photo Sean had given me and looked at it one last time. A happy, complete family shouldn't be broken apart. I tucked the photo into the branch of a nearby tree. After one last look at the happy family in the distance, I dragged my suitcase and left. But I didn't leave the city. I thought that once I was established, I could get to know my biological family in a different capacity, as a neighbor or a friend. 3 years later, I became the little boy's teacher. He said he liked me a lot, and that I looked a lot like his older sister. At his enthusiastic invitation, I went to his house as a guest for the first time. His parents were very warm. During our first meeting, they told me the story of their eldest daughter. They had always been lost in the grief of her death. Even after having another daughter and a son, they still referred to them as number 2 and number 3. If our firstborn were still alive, she'd be about your age, Ms. Run. It's a shame. We did everything we could back then, but we couldn't save her. At that moment, I desperately wanted to tell them that I was their firstborn. But how could someone like me deserve such a kind and loving family? I held back my tears and said softly, "If your daughter knew how much you miss her, she would be very happy." After saying goodbye to my biological parents, I started my journey home with a heavy heart. A happy family should stay happy. They didn't need drama to spice up their lives. As long as they were happy, that's all that mattered. And so, for 2 years, I continued to be a part of my biological family's life as their son's teacher. It was Valentine's Day. My divorced colleague, Edward, wanted to spend the day alone with his girlfriend. He asked me to look after his daughter for the day. I adored his daughter, so I happily agreed. We went to Diamond Plaza, shopped, watched the fountains, and fed the pigeons. We had a wonderful day. As evening fell, I called out to Emily, who was chasing pigeons, to come home. Emily came running and crashed into my arms, and we both burst out laughing. I wiped the sweat from her brow, took her hand, and was about to head home. But as I turned, I saw a familiar face. Sean. He froze for a moment. Then a smile of long-awaited reunion spread across his face when he realized it was me. He walked slowly toward me, but his smile faded as he saw the little girl holding my hand. I greeted him first. "Long time no see." He replied, "Long time no see." We just stood there, looking at each other, not saying a word. Emily tugged at my sleeve and whined, "I'm hungry. Let's go home." I smiled and pinched her chubby cheeks. "Fine at once." I smiled at Sean and said, "My daughter's hungry, and my husband is waiting for us at home to celebrate. I can't stay and chat, but let's get together sometime." I took Emily's hand and walked away without looking back. The next morning, my colleague Edward came to my place to pick up Emily. After his car drove off, I saw Sean standing across the street, watching me quietly. Because of the lie I told yesterday, I found it hard to face him. As I quickly turned to go back inside, he had already rushed to my door, blocking my way. "Aren't you going to invite me in?" "It's not a good time." "It's fine. I'd love to meet your husband, too." Before I could refuse, Sean walked into the apartment on his own. I sighed with a helpless smile, followed him inside, and closed